Welcome everyone to the Montessori Family Alliance. I'm Lorna McGrath and I'm your host. If you have come to many of our webinars, welcome back. We're so glad you're here. If you're new, we're also glad that you're here, and we hope that you will enjoy this broadcast and learn some things that will help you to have a bigger toolbox with your parenting ideas. So today's topic is one that is going to span from your youngest child or your youngest person in your family, might be an infant, all the way through adolescence. I wanted to take a look at children's living space. So these are some of my thoughts on what we need to pay attention to and how we can create beautiful living spaces for children in our homes. You know, the Montessori teachers in your child's school put a great deal of time and effort into creating the prepared learning environment. At each level, the environments change, sometimes in subtle ways, while other times in more obvious ways, according to the children's needs. We know from Dr. Montessori's work, from our own observations and experiences in the classroom and brain development research, that children need certain things in order for them to be comfortable, engaged, and able to reach their full potential intellectually as well as emotionally. So today, that's what we're going to look at. How do we do that in our homes? How do we prepare those home environments for your children, whatever level they are at? So notice on this first slide, you will see several different environments, and you can tell some of them are for older children, some of them for just very little children. So here we go. I wanted to read you this quote as we got started. Maria Montessori said, "Adults admire their environment. They think about it and they remember it, but a child absorbs it. The things that he sees are not just remembered, they form a part of his soul. He incarnates himself in all the world about him that his eyes see and his ears hear." And you know, that's particularly relevant at the early childhood level, but I think it's also relevant as children grow and get older. Certainly their needs are different. They're not as sensorially inclined, however, they do really take everything in their environments. So let's take a look at these things. Here's the first thing to remember, no matter what age your child is, set up your children's space first for comfort. I'm particularly talking about their bedrooms, but as they get older, they're going to be coming out into your living space. And maybe they need some space of their own. Some people have enough room in their homes to have a separate space for children. Some people help to create a space in every room of their home for the children that are there and for the age that they are. And you want children to be comfortable, to feel like it's their place, like they can do things and they don't have to worry about all kinds of things. You also want to create spaces that are created for engagement, that have things in them that are appropriate for your child's age, that will engage them at whatever stage they are, so that they'll want to be in whatever room that happens to be, whether it's their bedroom or whether it's some other room in the house. And the third thing is, you want to set up children's spaces for success. Just like in school, we set things up for success. We set lessons up for success. We use positive language for success. We want children to be able to grow intellectually and emotionally and not feel like they are constantly being judged or criticized or controlled, all of those kinds of things, because those things don't allow your child to reach their full potential. And that's what you really want at home and at school. So let's take a look at where children are. I love this timeline. It's one of my favorite photos. It doesn't quite show adolescence. Sorry about that, but you know, we're getting close. These are the stages we're going to talk about today. Infancy, toddlerhood, primary years, elementary years, and adolescent years. And we'll talk about what children need at each of those stages and how we can help furnish spaces in your homes to meet the needs of the children. So here we go. This first slide is about infancy. And you've seen that one with the pink in it several times already, because I really think that's a really nice one. Obviously, this infant is beyond crib stage. Although some people put their infants on a floor bed like that with the mattress on the floor from a very, very young age. Excuse me. Remember the things that an infant needs. First of all, they need primary caregivers to be there on a regular basis and to be consistent with them so that they can bond. And this is usually mom and dad, but not always. It could be a nanny, it could be a grandparent, it could be parenting partners. So bonding is really, really important in those first few weeks and months and year of their lives. And they want to trust that things are going to be okay for them, that they're going to be fed, that they're going to be changed, that if they're tired, somebody will help them to get to sleep. All of those things build trust. And they're very much into movement. Remember when that baby was first born, they really couldn't control any of their movements. And think about what happens during the first year of life. It's amazing, all the changes that happen. And so babies need to be able to move. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about that in just a second. And while they're moving, they're actually learning to be coordinated. You know, when they first start, you know, looking at their hand up above their head, they don't even really know that it's part of their own body. And they really can't control how that hand moves or what it does. And yet, in, you know, a matter of weeks or months, they are recognizing those things and beginning to use that hand and grab for things. Babies do not need to be in those rocking seat things that they have. There's a thing that you can hang in the doorway that bounces, and you put them in the seat and they kind of bounce up and down. People put babies into round mobile sort of trays. It's a round tray. You stick your baby in the middle and their feet can touch the floor, and there are wheels on this thing and they can move. And everybody thinks these things are really, really good because the baby can move. I want to say that it's not the best for the baby. That's not a natural thing. A baby will get up, you know, pull themselves up when they have the strength in their bodies to do that. They will learn to walk not when they're in a round thing that has wheels on it, but when they begin to pull up on a couch and start to cruise along pieces of furniture. When they're crawling, how can they learn to crawl when they're in these contraptions? So as you can tell, I'm not a proponent of lots of baby gadgets. What I am a proponent of is space for the baby to move. Safe space for your baby to move. So that's why I guess I like that picture that we have there of the room with the pink, because there's lots of room for the baby to move. There's that nice soft, I don't know if that's a rug. It looks softer than a rug. It looks more like a quilt. But there's a nice thing in the middle of the room for that baby who's not quite crawling, but needs some space. Might be sitting up like the little baby in the timeline. There are shelves there at the baby's reach, at their level, not high shelves, just down low to the floor. So when they do start crawling, guess what? They have something interesting that they want to crawl to, which encourages movement and stimulates the mind and gets the coordination going. On the picture on the very right-hand side of your screen, that's actually what we call a play yard. And you can buy that sort of fencing. In this particular case, it's plastic. And what we did, this is actually my grandson's play yard when he was an infant, is we attached two sides of the fencing, one to one wall, one to the other wall, so that we fenced in an area in their living room, actually, for the baby to be. And we put in a shelf inside of it. We noticed the floor. A lot of people get those foam pads that you can put down on the floor, and lots of times they are very, very brightly colored, and often they have letters of the alphabet and numbers on them. That's way, way, way too stimulating. You don't want to have bright colors and lots of visual stuff stimulating the child at this point. Notice even the fencing is white. I was going through things today, looking at different kinds of things, and lots of fencing is out there for you to buy, and lots of it has bright, bright colors, you know, and it's just way too overstimulating. Remember, this baby, what do you want the child to be looking at? Do you want them to be looking at the floor? Do you want them to be looking at the fence? Or do you want them to see the things that are on the shelf that you've created for them? I also have a basket of books in there, some soft toys, some soft like stuffed animals and things. And later on, you'll see a ramp that we put inside of that space. It's a pretty big space. These are really nice. They have a gate on them, and you can go in and out. I often would sit inside of that area with my infant. Maybe I'd have a book, or maybe I'd just sit with, you know, there, but I didn't need to do anything. But I did need to be there because the baby wanted me, my presence, you know, but not interfere, not to interfere, not to teach them anything. Put the things on the shelf that you like, and let it happen. And you be the observer. You're going to find out so many things about your baby if you just sit back and observe. So that's important. The next one that I want to do is toddlers. And this is a little older child. In the timeline that you see on the screen, this is a child that is definitely crawling, probably cruising, probably starting to walk, and even walking at the end of toddlerhood. So again, movement is hugely important, particularly gross motor movement, okay? Little toddlers, they need a lot of room because they like to move and explore. That's their job. That's what they do. And so give them the space in your home, safe space always, where they can move and explore. Notice the little person on the left, the picture on the left. They've got some low shelves there, and he's made his way over to the shelf and is pulling out a tub that contains some kind of toys or something. Notice the little guy in the middle. I have to say that is my grandson when he was a baby, and that is the baby ramp that I was talking about. On top of the ramp, on the platform, there's a basket of books for him to look at and look through. The part that he's actually sitting on is the ramp. It's not very steep, and we didn't buy that from a store. We made it. My husband works with wood. He made the ramp and the platform. We had some specs, so we knew what size to make it and what, you know, angle the ramp needed to be at. We made that. We used it at school where I worked. We used it for my grandson later on after I didn't need it at school. It is a wonderful thing for little guys who are learning to move and exploring things, and just a lot of fun. And another thing that toddlers need is to be able to be independent in the things that they can do. And most of us as adults, I'm so sorry to say, we don't give them enough credit for what they can do. So feeding themselves, they're going to begin to feed themselves at this age, cleaning their hands and their face after they've eaten. You could have a little dishwashing setup of some sort that your toddler could use. They love puzzles. Remember the kind that have the big knobs in one piece? Those are really good to start with. Then the smaller knobs for that fine motor. They love balls. Balls are good things, different sized balls, because they roll, which means your toddler has to have some practice with either running, walking, crawling, any of those things, which of course are movement. And exploration. They want to look into everything. They want to find everything. They want to take things apart. They want to do all of those things. One thing I'll tell you that toddlers are not particularly good at, because they're moving and exploring all the time, they tend not to put things away. However, you can help them. Remember, they're little. Help them learn to put things away so that they can do that on their own. And but they won't necessarily be putting things away for you. And they may not even put things away with you. You may have to sing songs, you may have to make it a game. Remember that toddlers are very egocentric, and they are also beginning to realize that they can make some decisions, that they have a voice beyond you. Before that, they really thought they kind of were part of you. And so they tend to begin to express their independence by saying no. So figure out ways that you don't have to get into a no thing, or that you can distract them from the no thing, or that you can make it a game, because you don't want to get into power struggles with your little one. So fix their room so that it is the right size, everything is the right size for them, that things are there for them to explore safely, that they can move and use that gross motor, and that they can be independent. Next is primary. When children get to be 3 to 5 years old, like the little person that has on the red flowered shorts and the green top, that's the age for these 4 things: independence, order, concentration, and coordination. Now, your toddler could be independent in many things, but man, when they get to be 3 to 5 years old, they become very independent. And it's a whole new level of independence, because their coordination, their muscle control is so much more, it's so much better than it was when they were a toddler. They are very much interested and love order. So in their bedrooms or in different rooms of the house, make sure that things are, that whatever the toy, let's say it's a toy, maybe a puzzle, that the puzzle has all the pieces. It disrupts their sense of order if there's a piece missing. So you want to create order. You do not want toy boxes, by the way, for this age group, because toy boxes are disorder. You open up the lid of a toy box and all you see is many, many parts of things. You can't put a puzzle in there without it spilling into the toy box. You can't put a pegboard in there and be able to find the pegs and stuff. So you want shelving, and you want it to be the right height for your primary age child. You probably want a table and chairs in their room. The bed that you see in the picture is a low bunk bed. And that's a good thing for them. They love that, climbing on things. There's also a step stool in the bottom right-hand corner of your screen. They're still not tall enough for lots of things in your home. So make sure you have a really good step stool where they can be safe and get up to help you with food preparation, get up to the bathroom sink to brush their teeth. There's lots of things that they can do. And that's another thing. They love doing what everybody else in the family is doing. They love doing what the grown-ups do in particular. At this age, they're very much locked into what is my mom or my dad or my grandma or my nanny doing, and can I do that? And so you see also a photo of a little girl who is putting some things in the recycling bin. And she is perfectly capable of helping with that. They love loading dishwashers if you're really brave. They love helping set the table. They love folding laundry. They love doing all of those kinds of things. With their toys, make sure that they have all the pieces. I was there before and I left too soon. Also, put things back in an order. So like on their shelves, if the puzzles are on the top shelf, always put them on the top shelf. If their tools are on the second shelf, always put them on the second shelf. We get this impression that these children don't like order, but actually they thrive on order and consistency. So keep that in mind when you're planning their rooms or their spaces in your house. They love to concentrate. So if you're giving them engaging things to do, they will concentrate and their concentration will get longer and longer and longer. And then finally, coordination. Look at this little guy or little person, I can't tell if it's a guy or a girl, who's upside down. He looks like he might be doing a yoga pose or he might be just having fun, but he needs space to have that fun and he needs a safe place for that. So make sure there's room for all of those things in your home. Then we go to the elementary years. The elementary years are the years of the imagination. This would be maybe the girl in pink, certainly the boy with the backpack, and the bigger girl at the end of the line is probably late elementary, maybe early adolescence, but I don't think so. I think late elementary. These children love anything imaginative. They love to use their own imagination. They love to hear wonderful stories that have imaginative things. Oh, when I read to elementary children, and I know you will at home as well, I read chapter books and there's no pictures, so they have to use their imagination. They have to listen to the words carefully and then make a picture of whatever it is you're saying in their minds. Very important time. They make up stories. They just love anything to do with imagination. They also love peer interaction, and I think that bunk bed is a great thing to have in an elementary child's bedroom, or two twin beds, because they love to have friends over. They need to have space where they can have friends over because their focus is now moving away from you and your parenting partner and moving toward their peers. And so you want to give them opportunities to be with peers, to join. Oh, this is the age for joining different kinds of clubs, different kinds of sports, different kinds of church activities, because they love being with their friends and being with their peers, and that gives them a good, safe place to do that. They are very much about justice. If you have an elementary child and you try to do a board game with them, they will want to, first of all, make up the rules. And second of all, they want everything to be what they call fair. And then we have to teach them that fair doesn't necessarily mean equal. So they love board games, they love sports. Sports has rules, anything with rules. And actually, if children are allowed to just have free play, they actually make up their own games with their own rules, and we'll do that because that involves imagination and it involves rules and justice. And they will come to you and tell on people, and you just need to help them facilitate their conflict resolution skills, because they'll know, oh, it's not fair, he got this and I didn't get it, and blah, blah, blah. They also want to know the how and why of things. And again, this goes back to imagination and curiosity. They want to take things apart and put them together. They want to find out things. They're into research at this age. So look at the pictures that I have for this one. One is a very neat and tidy room. And by the way, elementary kids are almost as bad as toddlers about putting things back. But you do need to expect that of them. Whereas with toddlers, you know that they aren't at the stage where they're going to do that readily. However, elementary children are old enough and need to be accountable for keeping their space tidy. Not when they're working, though. Look at the little boy on the floor. Might be a girl. Boy or girl on the floor who's doing homework, I think, or some kind of maybe coloring or painting, all spread out. When that child is done, though, the expectation is that that gets cleaned up and put away. So that's important for your elementary children. And here we are in the adolescent years. I love this photo of these adolescents. They're having a great time together. Talk about being into your peers. This is the time for a different relationship with peers, beginning to learn about gender identity and all of that kind of thing happens during adolescence. And they actually act as if they want you nowhere around. And they do want you nowhere around. That doesn't mean you should be nowhere around. But what they really crave is your guidance. And they will fight you sometimes, depending on the child. If you try to give them guidance, you try to set boundaries for them. This is a testing time. Testing, testing, testing. Notice the first word, individuation. They are just like a toddler in a sense. They are beginning to recognize that they are a different person than you are, and they may have different ideas and different thoughts. I remember very clearly in my adolescence, there was a political election, just like right now, that was going on, and my parents, particularly my father, was a staunch member of a particular political party. And I can remember my brother and I campaigning. We were in like, I don't know, Gordon, my brother was probably maybe 10th grade and I was probably maybe 8th grade. And we were campaigning for the person who was from the other party, mainly because it was the opposite of what my dad wanted. And so they're going to test out new ideas. They're going to test out things that maybe aren't part of your family's values, but this is a time for keeping good communication, open communication. This is a time for problem solving with your child. This is a time for brainstorming with your child. This is a time for setting boundaries when boundaries need to be set. And it's also a time for children to experience consequences in a very different way than they have when they were younger. They are now trying out more grown-up kinds of things. So give them the opportunities to volunteer. They love to feel like they can make a difference, like us trying to get this other guy elected when my dad was against him. But all different kinds of things. Habitat for Humanity, soup kitchens. Let them see the world, let them see how they can contribute in a meaningful way to the world. Now that's all about adolescence, but what about in your house? Notice the top right picture is an adolescent. It looks like he has a pretty nice workspace there. He has a desk and a good chair. He's got his computer. He's got all his stuff that he's going to need for homework or other kinds of things. So this looks like a good space for an adolescent. Notice the picture that's kind of in the middle of the page. Here's an adolescent that is hanging out and having a good time, got all of the stuff that she needs. Again, a desk area, a comfortable bed. I think there's some music happening there, or maybe some texting, who knows, or both actually, who knows. But this is a typical teenager, and this is a great room for a teenager. And then the last one that I put is down below on the right. This family had enough space that there could be a separate room for friends to come over and enjoy a space. You know, there's some parents think that it's a great idea. They'd rather have their children and their friends be at their house where they know what's happening than off someplace where they maybe don't know the parents of another child or the values or what the children are up to. So if you feel that way, and it's not a bad way, then you might want to create some kind of space in your home where the teenagers can feel comfortable, feel like they have some privacy because they have a need for personal space. and they want to be with their peers. They don't want mom and dad hanging around. Remember, you're not their pals. You know, when they're teenagers, you are not their pal. You're still the parent, and so they're not going to really want you just hanging out with them. So those are some things to really think about as you think about creating space for your children in your home. Of course, as they get older, let them be part of creating that space. Brainstorm about what it might look like and what they want in it and those kinds of things. And when they're young, have fun decorating for yourself, because the children are a little bit too little to participate in that. Although by the time they're 3 to 6, I got to tell you, they'll have their own ideas about what things should be. So be prepared to give them 2 choices and see what happens. It's been really fun to talk to you today about children and about the different stages that they go through and the kinds of things that they need in order to have the most comfortable, engaging, successful spaces in your home. Thanks for being here today. Look for an email that I'm going to be sending out in the next couple of days about the great webinars that we have planned for the rest of March and April. And if you need any more information, please let me know at lornamcgrath@montessori.org, or become a member on Facebook of the Montessori Family Alliance page. You can get a hold of me. You can see great stuff there. So don't forget, that's available to you as well. Thanks for listening today. Bye now.